Hello, this is Dean Radin, and I'm on Your Superior Self.
Hi, I'm Anita Murjani, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hello, this is Dr. Raymond Moody, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, Cultural Creatives. I'm Bruce Lipton, and I'm here to join you with Your Superior Self.
This is Paul Selig, and this is Your Superior Self.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aubrey Marcus, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hey guys, this is Sarah Breskman Cosme, and this is Your Superior Self.
Sarah, it is 38 degrees, I think, here. You're in the Keys. I'm sure it's a little bit warmer. How are you doing this evening?
I'm fantastic. It's like a balmy 75.
Ugh.
Palm trees are swaying right outside my window.
So jealous. So jealous.
You won't be jealous in the heat of the summer, though. You know.
I know, right? Love the Keys, love South Florida. I think you had the best setup. I was looking at your website, and some of the pictures and images of like the blue water down there are just phenomenal. So like to be down in that energy and do the work that you do must be phenomenal.
It is. There is a very special energy, especially where my office is located. Mm-hmm. It's like 90. I don't know if I would say 90 degrees. I asked Jimmy Blanchette, I'm not sure if you've heard of him, to figure out, according to my coordinates, where my office was located. And it was like in the direct same line as the Great Pyramid. So it was really interesting to find that out.
Wow. To find that out, to even think like in relationship to where your coordinates are with that concept. I mean, from where you're at now, from where you used to be, it has to be like a huge, huge leap, right? Like, you started out in psychology. Like I can relate to that because I'm going through that right now. How did you find hypnosis?
Well, by accident, completely by accident. I mean, it started out for me that I had a lot of problems. I mean, I was just somebody that always had problems when I was younger. I was overweight, and I had all kinds of phobias and fears, and I had OCD. And I was like a hypochondriac super manifester. People had problems and they told me about their problems. I could even manifest their problems so quickly from myself. It was like, you know how some people complain about being too skinny and people are like, oh gosh, what a problem. I was like a super manifester, but it didn't work out for me in any way. I mean, I would manifest all these terrible things for myself, not knowing what was going on with me. And I had so many issues. I mean, I couldn't sleep at night because somebody told me about having sleep problems and just so many problems that's how I got into therapy myself. So I got into therapy myself because I wanted to fix myself. And it was nice to talk to somebody, but I never felt like I got better, really. Mm-hmm. It was just nice. Like it was comfortable. But I didn't know that there were any other modalities out there. So I chose psychology, and I wanted to become a psychologist because I wanted to understand everything that we had as far as like knowledge. I wanted to learn it all so that I could help people in the best way that I could. Mm-hmm. But something happened to me that changed my life when I went to college. So a couple months after I went to college for the first time, I came back home to my family's house. It was Thanksgiving break. So I'd just been away for a few months. Here it is November, and I'm home for the first time. And when I walked through the door of my parents' house, there's a mirror, and I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and I just was shocked. You know, in the dorm rooms, they have these very small mirrors. I hadn't really looked at myself. I hadn't really thought about anything other than like studying and partying and doing whatever, you know, you do in college. I just hadn't really thought about anything. But when I looked in the mirror, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm completely different. And as I stared at myself, I realized I had lost like 20 pounds. I'm not joking. I'd only been away for a little bit, and I was still eating like pizza, and at the time drinking beer. You know, my diet was worse. And I noticed in the mirror that I had forgotten to have all my problems while I was away. So it dawned on me, oh my gosh, I had changed my environment and I had changed my thoughts, and this changed my life. It was such an aha moment. I'll never forget it. And it really changed my life because now I understand that it's my thought patterns that create these habits. So I don't, have these issues anymore because I understand how to work my own thought patterns, if that makes sense. But I continued with college because I still really wanted to help people. And after I graduated, I had this internship before going to graduate school where I would counsel people, and I was in charge of giving them their medication because I had learned all about medication. I was medication certified at the time. And I just was kind of shocked and a little bit disappointed because I felt like, is this really all there is? I mean, this is after all this schooling, and I'm about to go to graduate school. This is all we know as far as what to do to help people with mental illnesses. It just didn't seem right to me. I knew that there was something off. There must be something more, is what I kept telling myself. And I didn't see anybody get better. I mean, this was just my own personal experience. I saw people being tested on. I saw kind of firsthand the pharmaceutical industries, what they were doing, how they were using these people instead of helping them. And I just didn't want a part of it. So I quit. And it was years later that I got into hypnosis. But I'm a perfectionist. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's bad. I don't know. But I needed to be a master hypnotist before I started practicing on people, before I started charging and having my own business. So in order to become a master hypnotist, which I became a master hypnotist in 2009, you had to lose weight, quit smoking, and past life regression. So I wasn't really into past life regression. I didn't know if I believed in it because I really didn't have a spiritual background whatsoever. I mean, I was young. It was just so foreign to me, but I had to do it in order to become a master hypnotist. And I was really mostly interested in, becoming a good hypnotist, lose weight, quit smoking. And, I even thought it was fun. Maybe I would do stage hypnosis down the road. I didn't know. But it was obvious to me right away that there was something that was actually working with the past life regression hypnosis that wasn't quite the same with the other kinds of hypnosis, because lose weight, quit smoking was great, but it was like putting a Band-Aid on something. It wasn't getting to the root cause or the root issue, but doing a past life regression was really helping these people because I had to do like 200 sessions. It was a lot. So I decided, because there was such a huge success when it came to the past life regression, and I wanted to do something that worked, that I wanted to learn more about this method. So I studied with Dr. Weiss a long time ago, and I got really good at his method, and I did that for many years. And I thought, this is so fantastic. And then after many years of doing that, I just felt like there was something that I couldn't find, that I was missing. Like there was more. I just knew there was more, but I didn't know what it was. So at the time, I was watching this show called Channeling Eric, where there were all these psychic mediums, and I decided to hire one, and her name was Emmanuel McIntosh. And her reading was so funny because as soon as we got into the reading, she said, "Oh, Sarah, this is the easiest reading I've ever done." She said, "Most people have different future potentials, and, there's so many different ways that they can go, but this is the easiest reading. This is so clear. You feel like something's missing because you're supposed to do this method called Dolores Cannon's method." I had never heard of her. I didn't know who this Dolores Cannon person was. But Emmanuel said, "Yeah, you're going to get really good at this method, and you're going to work your way up from the bottom and to the top even, and you'll be teaching it, and you'll be writing books, and you'll be about this all over the world." And I just, thought, oh my gosh, this reading is terrible. That's what I thought. I thought, oh, she must have me confused with somebody else. And I didn't even look up this Dolores Cannon person because I thought there's no way. She must have just got me confused with maybe like the reading before or somebody else, because I'm not a writer or a speaker or, I don't even know who this Dolores Cannon person is. So then it was months later that I just checked her out. I wanted to see who this Dolores Cannon person was, just in case maybe I was really missing something. And as soon as I about her and I looked into her work, it instantly clicked with me. And sure enough, just like this said, I worked my way up, became a level 3. I assisted Julia all around the world before the quarantine, wrote books, and I'm speaking about my work all over the world.
Mhm.
So that's how I got into it.
That's so amazing. Brian Weiss, I was going to say that, like, I'm a big fan of his work, but his past life regression is more clinical though, right? Like,
Well, it's just a regular progressive relaxation technique, although he does teach you a few like shock inductions. I mean, he's fantastic and it's really amazing. He is extremely good at teaching. I don't think he's still teaching anymore, but he's very good at with his method, and it's a great method, but it's just a regular past life regression. So the main goal kind of session is to just bring to past life regression. Now, someone asked me an interesting question the other day. They said, how come in a lot of these regular past life regressions, the person doesn't remember another planet or remember being an extraterrestrial? And my guess would be is that the suggestion in the beginning is that it's clearly stated, now go back to another lifetime, another lifetime here, basically. It's kind of like limiting you to here. Whereas Dolores Cannon's method doesn't limit you at all. You just go back to another time, another place.
Mhm.
So I think that could be why, because she leaves it open. She doesn't lead them in any way. Whereas in a regular past life regression, sometimes you are led to another past life,
Sure.
here on Earth, basically.
I'm just so fascinated with it, right? Because I think what you're tapping into, what Dolores tapped into, is the collective unconscious that Carl Jung was talking about. I mean, Freud dabbled in hypnosis. Carl Jung was a student of Freud. I think, Edgar Casey's books, I think it's very similar to hypnosis. And you're tapping into this collective unconscious, or I think it's still the higher self almost, right? Like that place where
It's
it
all
has
the
all the
same
knowledge.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the main difference, like between Brian Weiss's work and Dolores Cannon's work, is that he goes strictly to past lives, where Dolores's work does past lives too, but it also connects with that higher self, right?
Exactly. That's the main goal of Dolores Cannon sessions, is to get the client deep enough and regress them. But really the goal is to access universal consciousness. And basically you can access it through anyone. I mean, when you go deep within anyone, you reach the same place, and that is universal
Mhm.
consciousness. No matter what you want to call it, it's all the same place.
Sure. That's
And
what I
it's
love about it. It's like coming from
yeah, me
within
too.
us, right? Like it's not
Exactly.
someone else. It's not like I have to go to someone who's a healer or a doctor or something, and they're doing something to me. It's you go into a session and you become the thing that is healing yourself, right? You're connecting
Yeah.
with that consciousness that has this knowledge and this power which is ultimately us anyway, connecting with the
Right.
body and healing it. Like it's so fascinating to me.
It is. And, it's interesting too, as, you do this work for a while, you realize it's so interesting how simple everything is. Like it's just extremely simple. And we just make everything so complicated. I mean, so many times the higher self will be like, yep, that's healed. And it'll be something like cancer or something that a person's consciousness would think is totally impossible to heal, or their back will completely straighten. You'll hear the bones like click into place. And all they did was just understand that they had this deep feeling of being unsupported their whole life, and
Hmm.
that really they needed to support themselves, or maybe they needed to let go of the sadness and finally they were able to let it go. And then all of a sudden their healing happens. It's so incredibly simple that it's like our consciousness wants to be like, wait, how is that possible? I don't like it to be so simple. I wanted it to be challenging. I wanted to really work hard for this, you know?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Do you have you developed gifts like some people have that have become practitioners where you can kind of hear the higher self speaking to you, like in your left ear or something like that?
Yeah, actually, that is the ear that I usually hear most of the time. Don't know. I'm not like a medium or anything like that. I just have noticed it that the questions will pop into my mind a lot of the time. And and it's really weird because sometimes the questions will pop in on the left ear, but then if I feel a presence and they're talking to me, it's on my right ear. So,
Mm,
you know, I really don't know. But you know, I feel like it's the work that's special. Like I don't feel like there's anything particularly special about me. You know, I'm just following along, doing what I'm supposed to do. But it's the work that's so easy and it just is, you know, that's special.
sure. Talk about your first QHHT session, right? Or the one that kind of, convinced you that this was real, that you were connecting with the higher self. Like, because for me, I really want to pursue this, right? Like, I want to be a
Uh-huh.
practitioner in QHHT, but there's a nervousness in me, right? Like, because let's just face it, like I'm an introvert, right? Like, so the requirements to step up to level one is like you have to do like 25 free ones. So I'm like, or something like that. I got to look around and I got to find 25 subjects to do
Yeah.
this method on. And some of them might be skeptical, right? Like, so how do you walk in with
Yeah.
the confidence to know that this is going to work and they're going to be able to connect with the higher self?
You know, that's a really good question because I was very skeptical and it really took me a long time to believe it. Just being totally honest with you. But when you have that first session that blows you away and they're completely healed after it, how can you doubt it? You know, I mean, but to be totally honest with you, I still had trouble believing it, even after the first time somebody healed themselves. See, the thing was, I switched from doing regular past life regression to QHHT. So I know
Would you
it's a
would you
sad.
suggest someone to go either be a master hypnotist, or would you refer them to go straight into QHHT?
I mean, if I'm just gonna be totally honest, I would say that I feel more comfortable having a hypnosis background, but this is only me personally. Um, I know plenty of people that don't have a hypnosis background at all. Like, for instance, Suzanne Spooner is probably one of the best practitioners in the world, and she doesn't have a hypnosis background. Either does Marilyn Dyke. I don't believe that she
Mhm.
does. It's just my own feeling of feeling like I like to have other tools for, you know, the unthinkable. Um, but I
Sure.
don't think it's needed. This, you know, this modality is so easy and it works so well that it's not needed. It's just something that I feel more comfortable having.
Sure. What was the the biggest healing that you were a part of that was like it made you a believer, right? Like you didn't well actually, you know what? You weren't a believer anymore. You just knew that this worked.
I knew that it worked. I think my life changed when I had my client Jen come in for a session because she was my friend. So I had been friends with her for 10 years before she had a session with me. I just needed somebody to regress and take their video submission to the level 3 class that I was taking because I live in Florida and all of a sudden it was going to be in Orlando and it wasn't like somewhere like Hawaii or somewhere far so I could actually go. And it just popped onto the schedule all of a sudden, and there's only 3 spots. So I was under pressure. I had to find somebody to regress. So I asked my friend, Jen, but I don't know why I asked her that. Every day after school, we used to sit at the playground and we used to watch our kids play. she was a teacher at the kids' school. So I knew that she was not into any of the stuff, because sometimes after my sessions, I really wanted to talk about what an amazing session. And I would try to bring things up with her because she was there all the time, and she was not interested. She was just very closed-minded, scientific. She was a history teacher at the kids' school. Did not believe in any of this stuff. I know, because I would try to bring things up. So when I asked her, hey, would you be my subject? I need somebody on the spot. I instantly regretted asking her, because I thought, why didn't I just ask one of my open friends? Why didn't I ask somebody at the yoga studio or something? I don't know why her name came into my mouth, and I don't know why I asked her. But when I asked her, I said, all you have to do is just volunteer. I'm just going to do a session with you, but I'm going to videotape it and take it to this level 3 class. And I said, but you might enjoy it, because you can really find out who you are. You can find out your true purpose, and you can even heal your body if you have any issues. If you have any issues at all, it's pretty easy to heal yourself in these sessions. And she just looked at me and she said, that's what you do? Because I haven't told anyone at the school, but I'm suffering from this brain condition called pseudotumor cerebri. And basically it's like the spinal fluid is flooding my brain, and it's causing severe headaches, and I can't see out of one eye. And I'm working really closely with a team of specialists at the University of Miami. And they said, with this heavy duty medication, I might have 20 more years left to live. So I've been in this complete depression. She was only 32 at the time. And, what kind of life sentence is that? Basically, you can stay on this medication that makes you feel horrible, and you might have 20 years left to live. So, she hadn't told anybody because she had just recently found out. And also it was just so devastating. She didn't really know if she was going to tell people, what she was going to do, if she was just going to take the medication and just suffer through it. So I was the first person from the school she told. And she said, yes, I will definitely be your subject. I'll try anything, because, she had 3 kids at the time. So our first session was really very interesting, because here's this closed-minded person who I knew for 10 years. So I knew she wasn't into any of this stuff. And in her first session, she regresses back to this ancient lifetime where she lived as like this priestess in this ancient place called Lemuria. And it was her descriptions of this place were just astounding. I mean, the way she described the culture, the matriarchal society, just how beautiful this island was, with the waterfalls and just the birds and the flowers and everything. It was just so many details. And then she was describing in this past life that there were visitors that kept showing up because they were looking for something. And these visitors were very advanced. They came in these travel spheres, and they were from this place called Atlantis. And eventually, since they couldn't get what they wanted, they took her as a prisoner and totally destroyed the whole civilization, her Lemurian civilization, with these massive tidal waves that they were able to create because they set off these atomic-like devices in rifts underneath the ocean. And it just completely sunk the entire continent. And they took her as a prisoner, and she spent 60 years in a prison in Atlantis. And so I asked her higher consciousness, after the past life part, why'd you show her this lifetime of all lifetimes? And they said, because her mission is to meet me and to uncover this information and share this important information with the world, that the world had been waiting for it. And the time was right now, because we've hit a point in our evolution where this information can finally be released. And our mission was to meet each other and uncover this information and share it with the world. So I asked her higher consciousness, well, why does she have this brain condition? And they said, well, it was the motivation to get her to see me, because she was not into any of this stuff. She would never have agreed to be your subject if she didn't have some motivation. But now that she has, we can release it, and we can heal it. So after our first session, she went back to her team of specialists. And After her first session, she noticed she felt a draining, something like coming behind her eyes, and she just started to feel so good that she stopped taking her medication. So when she went to her team of specialists, she was a little worried what they were going to say because she hadn't taken her medication since, our session. But when she went in for her medical update, they were astounded because she was healed and they didn't understand or couldn't really tell her why she was completely healed. But she told them, she said, "Oh, I know why. I had this session. It was a QHHT session." And they just, blew it off. They said, "No, it's just called a medical miracle. That's what it's called." So anyway, because we had this information that we needed to uncover this information apparently and share it with the world, which, okay, just to be totally honest with you, I've heard many things and I thought that's a nice story, but there was healing involved. So, and I'm curious, I was curious, what is this information? What does, the higher consciousness want us to share with the world? And I told her higher consciousness, take us back to the beginning of the story that you want us to share with the world, the very beginning, so we can uncover it all and share it with the world. Now, I thought she was going to regress back to Lemuria and like tell me all about her childhood, starting from the beginning. This is what I was thinking in my mind. And no, she didn't go back to her childhood in Lemuria. Instead, she went back to another lifetime as a commander on an extraterrestrial ship crash landing on Earth for the very first time. Now, this is someone who does not believe in extraterrestrials. So I kept thinking, oh my gosh, what is she going to think about this? Because I knew she didn't believe in extraterrestrials because I had asked her a bunch of questions and I brought up the subject because, like in QHHT, sometimes people remember another lifetime as an extraterrestrial. In fact, not sometimes, it happens all the time. So I asked her how she felt about this, and she said she definitely didn't believe in them, that it made her uncomfortable. So here she is remembering a past life, crash landing on Earth for the very first time as an extraterrestrial, not only just an extraterrestrial, a commander of this extraterrestrial ship. So she crash lands, understands why they came to Earth. They were, missing some resources. They came to Earth because Earth has a lot of this resource. And apparently it was this very special gemstone, these red crystals that the Earth has a lot of. And they were using these red crystals on our home planet to kind of create this enlightenment effect. So it was very interesting. It was almost like another realm that they create because they're mostly mental. They've evolved to the point where they don't need to eat anymore, where they are so advanced mentally that they can use their mind to create different things. But they needed this gemstone to create this other realm. It was like another realm that you had to go through. And then once you went through it, you were never the same again because you would understand the secrets of the universe. So of course, I was very curious. I was like, what happens when you go through, other realm or this, like, can you explain the secrets of the universe, So she was starting to remember it. And she said, they're pulling this memory as fast as I'm trying to remember it. But basically, oh, hold on, my internet is unstable. But basically, when you go through this vortex, you remember everything. It shocks you into enlightenment. You remember why you're here and what you're doing here. And essentially, you remember that life is just a game. And this game has been going on for longer than anyone can comprehend in the aspect of time, because we're truly all just part of this ancient grouping of beings. And we travel from planet to planet and we evolve on that planet. And then we seed another planet, travel to that planet, and we keep going over and over. It's like a cycle, but it's not just the cycle that goes like this. It's a figure. It always folds up on itself and everything is happening in the now. But essentially, you do all of this for the experience. And so it was really interesting. And everybody had to go through this other realm to understand who they really were. And once you did that, there was no need to compete with anyone because you realized that you were everyone you saw and that you were just, reflections of one another. So they were running out of this resource. And if they ran out of this resource, they knew they would de-evolve. So since Earth was so rich in this resource, they said they were going to seed Earth. And then, they were also going to inhabit earthly bodies and also, grow their population. Essentially, we are extraterrestrial. So essentially, they were going to have an experience on Earth while also having an experience on their home planet, like many other races do. So that was just really interesting because I thought we were going to uncover more about it. Apparently, that was part of what the information was that we had to share.
Sure. Oh man, there's so much in there. But going back to your point about the higher self speaking to you, saying that this is your path, right? This is your mission. What does that say about agency here, right? Like free will. Like, are they guiding us? Are they directing us? Are they putting people, in our path to help us evolve as consciousness? Like your friend, right? The only reason why she had I think it was the brain tumor or cancer was so that she could meet you and go through this practice or modality to experience this and get this information out. So like, are there checkpoints? Are there jumping off points in our lives where we meet random people and that projects us into a different direction in our lives? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So we have free will, but it seems like we come in with different things that we really want to accomplish. So we use all these things. And then if you get off your path, you'll some sort of issue to try to bring you back to your path. When you go against your nature, it's everything in the universe resists it. Going along with what you know deep down to be true for you, your purpose, it's like smooth sailing completely. But like one example, I think, of free will versus, trying to do your own thing and going rogue is, I had this client and she had this right shoulder injury. And so she came in for a session and her higher consciousness said, yes, we gave her that right shoulder injury. I said, why? Why would you give her this right shoulder injury? And they said, well, she just started this cleaning job. She's not supposed to do this cleaning. She's supposed to be a singer. That was her purpose that she came in to do. Her voice is so healing and she could really help so many people if she could just do her purpose. And if she had to give her a clear sign that she's not going down the right path. And this is her sign. We're just doing exactly what she told us to do. And so we're not going to heal her shoulder unless she gets back on her path. So I asked a bunch of questions. What does she need to do? And they said, well, everyone she knows is in a band. All she has to do is start right now. Just start. There's places looking for people that could do what she does. She'll make enough money. She'll be fine. So I said, well, okay, can you heal her shoulder right now for her then, since she got the message? And they said, yes, only if she does what she's supposed to do. So I saw her in Winn-Dixie, excuse me, down my street, and she was in a sling. So this is just a real example because, so what happened? She said, oh, well, I just got nervous. I didn't want to stop job because I had so many clients lined up and I didn't do the singing. I was just nervous. I didn't know handle if I could do it. So I just kept doing the cleaning job. Now I need to get surgery. So I saw her again and because everybody sees each other in Winn-Dixie because it's a small island. I saw her again in Winn-Dixie and, she was in this like post-operative compression garment on her shoulder and arm. And she just had the surgery. She said it was really successful, but it was still really painful. And now her left shoulder was hurting. So I just thought, that's like a really good example how our bodies are helping us. Everything's helping. Everything in the universe aligned to our path. Do I think some things are random? Yes, but I think designed so much for our lives. And if we don't, I do think you can choose basically whatever you decide, but it's hard if you're going against what you truly, truly know to be your purpose.
Yeah. I am just so fascinated by that, right? That's how the higher self communicates with us, is through our bodies. But like, people struggle and suffer every day with pain in their bodies, and no one ever thinks about, oh, well, am I on my path? Like, that's like that's a thought that I would never have. Like, if I get sick, right, or
Right.
if I run a lot, right? So that it's not uncommon for me to have pains and aches and soreness in certain parts of my body. I would never think in my mind my higher self is trying to communicate with me about maybe my
Yeah.
path, maybe my trajectory, where I'm going. Um, that's just so fascinating to me. Like, what? How do you?
Well,
How do I?
also,
Go ahead.
the body is a mess too. So, I mean, it's such a tool that we've never been taught. I mean, we've never been taught this, that when you have an ache or pain, that it's actually something to help us. So if you just can quiet yourself and listen to whatever it's telling you, like you could even ask yourself, what is the root cause of this pain? You know, the very root cause. Is there something I need to understand about it? Is there something I need to learn about it? And then, do you need it anymore? Has
Hmm.
it served its purpose? Do you need it to teach you something anymore? And then, can it be released and healed? You know, because if it's something like, okay, I'll just use myself for example. I got a little cold because I don't rest enough. I know I need to take the time to rest more, but I wasn't listening. So I got a cold to force myself to rest.
Hmm.
If we listen to ourselves, not perfect, but if we listen to ourselves and go inwards and find out, what do I need to learn from this? And
Hmm.
if you can get the message, then you can release it. I mean, we're not taught that, but really the body is working for us. It seems like such a foreign concept, right? Like
Sure.
it seems like you get any kind of ache and pain, must go to the doctor, must go to someone else to tell me what's wrong with me, when really it's an intuitive thing. Your body is telling you what you need to do, and it's you that needs to listen to it, because you're the one that ultimately will heal you.
Hmm. It puts the healing power back into your own hands, right? Like,
Mhm.
what have you found that since you become a QHHT practitioner, that clients just come out of the woodwork with, like, for you, looking for help?
Um, you know, yes, I'm very blessed. I actually don't have any book schedule because I stopped at like February 2024. I'm going to reopen. I just I'm not sure like what I'm going to be doing in February, March 2024 yet. Um, but I know that it's always a match. Whatever client comes to me, the higher consciousness has matched us. And I learned this a couple years ago when I had this client that said that all her life, when she was going through really difficult times, she would see the numbers 1974. Like she would open a book and it would be 1974. For some reason, it would comfort her. And she had an apartment building that was like 1974. Everything was 1974. Now I'm 48. That's my birthday. So that's my birthday. So every time she kept saying that, I kept thinking, oh, that's really interesting. I wonder what the higher consciousness is going to say about this. And the higher consciousness said, know this. I didn't tell her it was my birthday. The higher consciousness said, just to show her that this session had been planned ever since she was 3 years old, because that's my birthday, which I obviously knew. But it was an interesting experience for me, because I've known this. I started this, but now it was totally proven. These sessions are so set up. They're so divinely planned.
Hmm.
Like that you can't have these sessions. There's such a match between the practitioner and client, or, it's a match between many people that do healing modalities, or maybe all that do
Sure.
healing modalities. Just like you choose to do certain things in your life, you choose to do different things and meet up with different people to help you along your path.
Sure. That's like one of the fears almost, right? To like pursuing this as a modality, or like being a practitioner of this, is like, where can I get the clients? Where will I be able to find the clients, right? Like, will this work for me? I know it works for Sarah. She's obviously written books on it, and she's now the leading authority on Atlantis. Um, speaking on like platforms like Gaia about Atlantis in your book, it's like it's almost like imposter syndrome almost, right? Like, who am I to do this, right? But I feel like, to your point about the universe like setting this up for people, I'm kind of banking on that, because like I'm reading a lot of the signs, and I'm reading like the universe has put people into my life that are pushing me in that direction, or making me feel more comfortable about that decision, because I've looked at many different hypnosis modalities, right? Kind of similar to what you were speaking to before with Brian Weiss, and they just don't resonate with me, right? Like, past life regression is great. I think it's awesome that you can do this, right? And it heals the individual from whatever trauma they're going through. But like, to really connect with the higher self and like do healing right then and there, and then find information out about the history of mankind and the planet. Like, I mean, yeah, that might be a little tough to verify some of that information, but if you have like 20 different clients, and maybe 5 of them who don't know each other are kind of saying similar things, that's like a 5% chance of like it being outside of chance, or like there's not a pattern there really. I mean, I guess there is a pattern there, but it's like a skeptic would say, oh, that's just random, right? But if you have like 5 people that don't know each other, like, and are saying the same things, it's kind of exciting, right? Like, because you're on to something, like you found something.
Well, I mean, I really love this modality because you can find out anything. You can help too. I mean, I've helped my son glasses when he was 11, and now he's 14. He's, healed his eyesight, helped my mom heal a bunch of things. I mean, I just feel like as soon as you say to the universe, okay, I'm ready, give me clients, they do so. I mean, there's really nothing you have to do. I didn't do anything. I never, I self-published my books. I never did anything. The higher consciousness has an agenda, and they want to get certain information out. And if you want to help in that process, they will help you do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just whatever your intention is.
Well, to that point of you have books out, do you have a way of discerning the information that you receive from the higher self, or like, as opposed to someone who's read your books and now is just repeating some of that material?
Yeah, I don't use paying clients. I only use clients that or not clients. I use like certain people that I kind of test, and they have to not I call them my hypnosis subjects. They can't read my books. And also, I don't like it when they have previous knowledge of any of this stuff. The best subjects to use for me are people like my first friend who didn't know any of this stuff. But also, the way I discern things is I'll take a bunch of different people that don't know one another. Like what you just said, like when I'm going to do a conference or something and say I have a certain topic, I'll use a bunch of people that don't know one another, and I'll find out what they say on these certain topics. And then I'll use those clips. How would they all say the same things if this wasn't evidence,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty interesting when they describe the same exact details. How would they know these details? And then how would they know, certain things? What I find really interesting is, just as an example, like people that have memories of being on this is just very specific, a gray extraterrestrial ship, for instance, and they all describe it the same exact way, but consciously they have no idea about this ship. So how did they all explain in such detail what this ship was like from the inside? So I love doing stuff like that, like getting these little collections of, people's recounts that match up completely with somebody else's. And I love just finding out secrets of the universe because I'm really curious, and I really enjoy things that really help me not worry so much about what's happening on the planet. I always feel like if people even knew like a quarter of this information, they'd be so much less stressed, so much less worried about things. I see my internet's cutting in and out a little bit. Looks like
You're
cutting
good.
in.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
I can
good.
still hear you.
Yeah.
What's any new information on Atlantis that's coming through right now?
Right now I'm almost on my third book, so there hasn't been a lot of new information on Atlantis. Just the fact that we're repeating so many different cycles, moving past the cycle, and it seems like we're doing really well. That so many of us are back again now and really working hard to redo things from our past and to do things better this time. I
Mhm.
mean, I always get the message all the time that we're doing really well, that everything is right on track. I don't get we're going to destroy each other. I mean, I have heard it's going to be chaotic, but this is all part of our growing process.
What's next for you, Sarah? Like, where do you see yourself going? Does the higher self tell you like what your path is remaining? Like, you've written what, 3 books? You're on your
Well,
third
I'm
book,
almost done my third book.
and you're teaching classes, right? And you're
I'm not
speaking.
teaching some workshops, yeah.
Okay, you're teaching
So,
workshops, and you're talking on platforms like Gaia. Like, what's the next thing? I mean, in your path.
I don't know. I don't
Mm.
know what it is. I think I'll just be pleasantly surprised. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. It's pretty fun. I'm having a great time doing it. And it's really um, fun going to these places and speaking at these conferences and going on Gaia and meeting these amazing people. It's really been something that I never really thought would happen to me. So it's really quite amazing
How'd
just
that
to
work
watch
out
it
for you?
unfold.
How'd you get on Gaia?
Okay, this is really weird, but so after I published my book, A Hypnotist's Journey to Atlantis, the one that the higher consciousness said that we needed to share this information, through. And as soon as I published it, it just started selling like crazy. Now I self-published it. I didn't do any kind of promotion whatsoever. So how people found out about it, I don't know. And it just shot up to number 1 on Amazon. And then I got a call from Gaia, and I had never heard of Regina Meredith. I didn't know who she was. I had watched Gaia a couple times before, but for some reason I didn't know who she was. And she asked if she could interview me. And I thought, sure, because I was, happy to have interviews. So I just published this new book. And she interviewed me and then wanted me to go on her show. And I asked her, now we've become friends, and she's amazing. But I asked her, how did you find out about my book? And she said, oh, I think someone gave it to me. I don't know. I'll find out. So she tried to find out. She asked everybody she could. No one could figure it out. No one knows how she got my book. Still
She
don't
does.
know.
She doesn't even know how she got your book.
Nope, no.
The,
So,
the universe.
yeah. So, I know now, I know my purpose now. I think I feel confident in knowing what it is because I know the higher consciousness has an agenda. So basically, like I'm not the one that writes these books. I mean, if you read them, it's obvious I didn't write them. They're written by the higher consciousness. They have an agenda. So basically what they do is they use people like me or other people that agree to do something like this, like Dolores. They use this method of getting this information to the people that are searching for it. So I didn't have to do anything. I didn't, decide this is what I was going to do. I never thought I would be a writer. I really am not the writer of these books. The higher consciousnesses, they have an agenda and they're getting this information that they feel is very vital to humanity through me publishing them. And then they are the ones that circulate it. I'm just
Mhm.
along for the ride, which I have to say is pretty fun.
It just seems like you can have so many fun adventures, like traveling and speaking and visiting sites like Hawaii, feeling that energy, going to Egypt, looking
Yeah.
at the Sphinx, like just the information that you receive. Like I was listening to a couple of conversations previously before this interview. Some of the information that was spoken about the Sphinx and like what possibly may be underneath it, like just kind of like
Yeah.
really stirs the pot for me. Like my curiosity, it's like, wow, what if it really is down there? Like, I mean, we keep finding these artifacts in on the planet that are just, they're pushing back the clock as far as like, our evolution or how long we've been here on this planet. And so it's like, it's not, I'm sure like there's gotta be some evidence like somewhere in there, right? Like of like our
I'm sure
original
there is.
beginnings, right? Like,
Oh, sure.
that's the magic part of it, right? Like that's the magical part of it. It's like will we ever know? Like, I don't know.
Oh, I think so. But I'm really excited about sharing more information about the Sphinx at the Conscious Life Expo. I'm speaking there in February, and I'm going to do a presentation just on the Sphinx.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I got to pick up that book. Sarah, how can people connect with you? How can they reach out if they want or find and buy your book?
You can go to my website at theholistichuhypnotist.com. Both books are on Amazon right now, A Hypnotist's Journey to Atlantis and A Hypnotist's Journey to the Secrets of the Sphinx. And my third book should be out within the next month, hopefully.
Well, I can't thank you enough. This has been so fun. We're going to have you back on because I think it's the universe's plan to get this out, and having you on the show has just been fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.